much, Karin. That was Karin playing Griegs to the Spring. That was so lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Let's see. We need to, is EE here? Okay.
She's online.
We need to approve, is that what we do first? I almost forgot. We need to approve March's general meeting, no, February's general meeting minutes. So does anybody have any corrections to February's meeting minutes? Okay, can I get a motion to Rowe moves, Peter seconds, all in favor? Aye. Great. Also, are there any new members online? I don't think so.
No.
Okay. We have, is Hayoon here?
No.
Okay. We need to vote, so Laura Dean was voted in September, or in July of last year as the board member at large, but she needed to step down. So we have Hayoon Krentz, who is the chair of Simon Fizet Low Strings, and she agreed to step in, but we need to vote her in. So I don't know how that works. Ro, do you know how that works when she's not here?
She's not here. I think she doesn't have to be here.
Okay.
She just have to present her name.
Yes.
And what we're voting for.
Okay, so we're voting for her to be the board member at large in place of Laura Dean for the rest of the year, and then in May probably for next year. So, all in favor of having Hayoon Krentz as board member at large? Awesome. Okay, great. And
So
yeah.
everyone raise their hand.
Yes, she is now officially on the board as board member at large. Excellent. Let me open the floor to some announcements, and then I have some announcements from Jessica, some social stuff. Ro.
Okay. I have two.
Why don't you come, yeah.
I'm just going to bring my little showing hub. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone online. I have two announcements. They both have to do with the SMTA conference in June. SMTA always participates in the basket auction, and this year's SMTA basket the theme is woofers and tweeters. So last year we had meowsicle moments, and we had a lot of cat-themed items. So this year it's dogs, birds, treble and bass sounds. Use your creativity and imagination. So today I just have a box, not a basket, but sorry, folks online, we will have a basket in May and certainly in June. But if you'd like to donate cash or a check made payable to SMTA today, feel free to do so in the envelope here. And I'll just share two items we already have. We have Paper Pups, which is a fabulous origami activity, and you can have them as desk pets. And we also have Sniffers tea towels. So we've got the dogs, at least two for the dogs. So we need birds and and more dogs and woofers and tweeters. All the proceeds from these baskets go to support WSMTA's student programs. And while we're on the subject of the conference, if you're planning to attend and you'd like to apply for a Dorothy Woodcock Conference Attendance Grant, which we offer to members through SMTA, you're welcome to do so. There's an application online to apply for the grant, and it's for the grant is for half the registration fee paid, not to exceed half the early bird registration fee. So this year, the early bird fee is $175, so $87.50 would be the maximum you could apply for in the grant. But if you paid for one day, you would pay for half that fee paid. So there's a very good explanation on the SMTA website. So, and feel free to reach out to me or my co-chair, Kathy Mortensen, if you have questions. Thank you. I'll put this on the table. And so back there, so with the food, so you have a question? Thank you.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You may have said this and I was spacing out, but when is this?
Oh, the conference is June 27th through 29th at Central Washington University.
Great. Jason, would you like to come give us some?
I have a couple of things, but I want to quickly follow up on the conference because I'm organizing the winners concert this year at the conference. First of all, the conference is going to be held at Central Washington University, not far from here, and you will see lots of interesting merchandise available because part of it is that we held a student art contest to help us design the cover of our booklet, and we do have those arts that we're turning them into merchandise. Okay, so there are going to be tote bags and things like that. Let's see. Quick update on the legislature. Some of you I just talked a little earlier, so you already got the story. But we got the tax exemption for group lessons, we are very fortunate, or maybe not so fortunate if you consider we kind of got caught in the millionaire tax bill. So the result is that there's tax exemption from live presentations for group music lessons, nonprofits, youth camps, and as well as performance, any incidental instruction related to performance, and also any presentations done on church ground. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers everything for our sector, and we regret that we weren't able to get the tax exemption for like art lessons, math lessons, and things like that. Okay, the way legislature works is that lots of things happen through negotiation, and sometimes in the heated moment of negotiation, things get left out. So anyway, we did get everything we were looking for, and so we were very lucky. All right?
Thank you.
Yes, Pam?
When does that take effect?
Oh, let's see. For youth camp and church grounds, that's immediately. Well, it's immediately. There's no issue. The group lessons take effect July 1st, 2026, okay? And for those who have been teaching group lessons and you had a contract with your students prior to October 1st, originally the Department of Revenue said that you are good through April 1st, but they have since extended that to you're good through June 30th. So essentially, if you had a contract before October 1st, you're good. You don't have to collect the taxes for the next 2 months. Okay? All right. So we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, and a huge thank you to Jason again for all of your hard work. That was awesome. Okay, yeah, Karen.
Who here has adult students? Oh, good, because we're having an adult music student soiree, and it's coming up on Sunday, May 3rd at 6:30 at the home of one of my students. He lives on the Magnolia Bluffs. His house is way bigger than mine, so we don't have space limitations, and he does have a grand piano. If you want your students to participate, let them know about this. And then you or your student can contact me directly. Text or email is fine, and I'll give them the address. And we do ask that all participants bring some nice party food and some nice something to drink to share. It's always a really convivial atmosphere. People come back time and time again saying, what nice people always attend these things. And you get to hear music and be inspired. Any questions? Okay, hope to see every one of you enter as student this year. Yes, Pam?
So it's May 3rd?
It's May 3rd, which should be a Sunday at 6:30. Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else have an announcement? Yeah, Lee.
No, friends. So the board has been working very hard on a document that will be published on our website coming up called SMTA role and chair descriptions and VP descriptions. So on that document, what's really wonderful is membership is going to be able to see all of the descriptions of what every single person in SMTA does. So that's going to be very exciting. And the reason I bring it up today is that if any of you are debating about if you want to get involved in SMTA, it's going to be a really good opportunity to read through and see what opportunities are available. There's positions that require maybe 10 minutes of your time throughout the year, up to hours per week. So your level of involvement can be quite different and fitting to what your schedule allows. And the reason I also bring that up is it's time to renew your membership. I'm sure you all got your MTNA email. So please make sure that if you want to be included in the SMTA printed yearbook, that you have to renew your membership by July 1st of this year. So that's always been our policy because we have to actually compile the yearbook and print it before we start in September. If you are unable to renew your membership before July 1st, you'll still be included on our online directory, which is passcode enforced so that random general people in the public can't see your address and everything, but everyone in our organization can see that. So just make sure that if you want to be in the printed yearbook, you need to renew by July 1st.
Thank you. Great. I have a couple of social updates from Jessica, who was not able to attend. The upcoming social events is Sunday, May 3rd at 2 o'clock, so you can still attend Karen's adult soiree. At McCullough Hall, we are going to see Carmen, the great opera. And then on Friday, May 8th at 5:30 and 8 p.m. At Ventura Hall, there's an event called Octave 9, The Periodic Table, an immersive performance by composer Jesse Harvey, featuring our very own Jessica Andrews, blending music, science, and storytelling. They also wish to say that they're finalizing details for the dinner party series in May and the end of the year celebration in June. So if you have any questions or would like to attend any of these events, please reach out to Jessica or Sophia, So that is Jessica's update, yes. When is that? I'm not sure. I think they're still
It's
finalizing.
on the website, but I don't remember.
Oh.
But it is on the calendar.
It's on the calendar.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know where it is?
I
You don't have to answer. I
can look really quick.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to share? Ryan.
Hello. On the one hand, there's going to be a district conference, and it's going to happen in October, on October 24th. It's going to be down at the Steinway Center downtown. There is parking next door on the weekends for like $8 all day, and there's a light rail station across the street. And there's more details that I'm working out the finer points of, but that's just to have like a save the date. I hope that you will all be able to join. Yes.
Sorry for,
That's why we're here.
SMTA and WSMTA, what's this district?
I am the district director of the second district of the Washington State Music Teachers
Okay,
Association.
so we're also in a district,
Yes.
okay.
There's a whole big taxonomy going on here. Yes, so MTNA to WSMTA to district sort of loosely, and then chapter.
So what are the chapters in our district?
Our chapters include Seattle, the east side, like Washington, those two being sort of north, south, east side, as far as I can tell. And then South King County is the fourth one in our chapter.
So you go for like a day and you get some lectures and...
Yeah, like the sort of murky outline I have in my head at the moment includes at least one main presenter, and then I'm going to try and put together a sort of round table if I can conscribe some clever teachers that have interesting ways of using method books that are sort of out of the ordinary that they're willing to share, because that is something that people kept bringing up as stuff that they're interested in. And generally, like the theme I'm pursuing is sort of freedom in music. So treating things in either more historical ways, because they weren't actually insanely dogmatic when they wrote all of this stuff. They were actually doing creative things to, like, in some cases, make money for the day. And in other cases, to like express themselves and provoke emotions and make an argument about like what music could be. And that seems like a nice thing to pursue. It seems like something that, without saying it exactly that way, people keep telling me they're into, so that's what's going on with that. In any event, save the date, please. And then, other than that, I have a thank you to deliver, Karin, on behalf of at least the board, but it's really all of us, for your time as archivist and librarian. So I would love to present this with you in front of the people that are also into it. And that's what I have to say.
Great, thanks, Ryan. We have an update on the end of the year party,
Yeah,
which will be June 13th at 5 p.m. Location TBD.
Yes. If that has not changed.
Yeah. Great. Anything else from anybody?
Is it okay to
Lovely.
ask a
Well,
question?
should we get started
about the
early, or do you want to
conference?
just chat for 10 minutes?
I'll check with Rachelle if she's downstairs.
Okay. Chat amongst yourselves for the next 9 or less minutes.
Oh, we have a question
Oh,
from
yes.
Karen.
Can you
Wheatley
hear
on
me?
here.
Yes.
Can you hear
Go
me
ahead,
right
Karen.
where you?
I'm sorry, say that again. I had to raise the volume.
Can you hear me okay? All right. So what I was wondering is anybody participating in the member marketplace at the Washington conference?
We have a member marketplace at the Washington State Conference.
It's a new thing.
It's a new thing. Oh, yeah. Is anybody participating in it? Not, at least not in person, Karen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I'm probably not able to attend this year, but I was just curious about that a little bit. Okay. Thank you.
Does anybody have any information about it?
I have a rough thing.
Okay,
It's like
yeah.
you can basically market a product or a book or something if
If you remember.
like you can sign up and
Okay.
see if you can get a table. At least that's to my understanding.
So it's like an exhibition hall for
Kind of,
members?
I think.
Okay.
It's like
Interesting.
Yeah. Check
Correct
the
me if I'm
WS.
wrong. Like approximately.
Oh, Kathy
Check.
has something to say.
Maybe Kathy.
Yeah, check the WSMTA website, the conference page. Advertisers.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
Kathy.
you.
Thanks for being here so early, Kathy. I just wanted to say that. Okay. Any other online questions? All right. Just give us a sec. We're going to set up our presenter. Social time. Yes, eat the delicious snacks that were so lovingly brought by Anne and Pam.
Know any good jokes?
It's not me that's here so early. It's Suzanne that's here so early.
Had people asking. I can update that.
Hi, Leo.
Hello, hello.
Oh, fun. I love it. It was already wonderful.
It's funny, we have our own little Zoom here.
I know. Wow.
Didn't know what it would be like. I thought, well, I'll show up. Yeah, it's early for me. It's almost 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Josie said early. that
Yeah,
it's here
well,
early.
I can figure out where you are in the time zone. It's really difficult.
It is difficult. Here it's almost 1 o'clock here.
Oh, for what?
I can't tell, but it sounds
No,
like
I mean, I just
get
felt bad for
attendance
you.
live.
Position of not really like.
I sure enjoyed hearing
I'm so
Karen
glad
play.
I'm okay.
I didn't want it to end.
Thank
Oh.
you. Thank you.
Was it great?
September 1st. Yeah,
Get to
second.
hear it. I
So
couldn't
I
hear
got to
it
get through the summer. But
Just
then,
about 10
there's
minutes.
the end. Hopefully there's.
Karen, Wheatley, where are you based?
Yeah, I don't know. Like my last one was born in January, so I was used to the winter, the trimester, where you just kind of.
Carol, where are you based?
This will be different.
Are you?
But in a way, it's nice.
Where in
It's always
Seattle?
kind
You're
of
in
out in the
Seattle.
sun, and it feels
I'm
Where do you
in,
live?
yeah, I'm in Issaquah East Side, but I teach online, so
Oh,
depends on which question you're asking. Where am I? Where do I
yeah,
teach?
Issaquah. Yeah, Issaquah. I was curious.
I was in East Side originally, and then I discovered you guys, so now I'm in both.
Wow,
Yes,
that's cool. Is that a lot of meetings? Do they have meetings too?
yes. But I've been attending everything online and trying to go to both. So,
Yeah.
Wow,
is it,
that's great.
Kathy? You're in a different location right now. Where are you right now?
Right now I'm in New York City.
Ah, okay. And is that temporary, or do you live there now?
That's temporary.
Okay, I got that impression, but I wasn't sure.
I'm over on Molokai in Hawaii.
Oh, you're the 7 a.m.
I'm the 7 a.m.er.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And is that vacation?
Yeah, it has been a long vacation. I only have a few days left. It feels short now. And before it felt like so long. Because it rained a lot here.
I'm sorry. Did you send that question to me? I
So
don't
the
remember
vacation
getting that question.
is different than what we assumed.
Hawaii's still nice in the rain.
Okay, let's see.
Well, yeah, that's what you thought, until the mud is flowing down the hillside and blocking the road, and making it unable to swim in the water. But yeah, it's still out the window. I have the ocean. I have lovely birds. I made a great recording. I'm right from Shama, but I've been singing. It's really nice. And there's a red-crested cardinal that makes a beautiful sound, and the cattle egrets fly by, and I've been really enjoying that. Birds.
That's great.
And we get to
I
see
don't know
whales.
my birds that well, but that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, that part is wonderful. And we watch whales out here. We've seen them flapping.
From the shore, you can see them?
Perhaps. We're right on the ocean.
Wow.
So on the ocean, it's so loud that we have to close the windows at night because the waves are like.
Wow. Yeah.
So right. I mean, and every day we walk on the beach. So right. You know, how hard is that really, right?
Yep. That's nice.
And plenty of fresh papaya.
Oh man, I envy
That's my
you.
favorite. That's my favorite.
I can never get good tasting papayas, mangoes.
I know. And here,
It's hopeless.
they're coming from somewhere else, but still they ripen in a day. Something about how they haven't been stored improperly, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. And avocados, they ripen really fast. They're from Mexico, but still something about the storage, right? Something about how it's refrigerated. We had a little bit of fresh fish. And we've seen some amazing views. Colony here. I did go snorkeling yesterday and saw some fish, but we had an amazing, euphoric experience snorkeling on the boat where I was surrounded by so many convict tanks and big fish. They were so close and so many.
Can I stand at some place where I can actually just use my slideshow as my notes?
I feel so exotic in this company. I'm in Seattle, of all places.
Yeah.
It's a place to be. I'm looking forward to it. I can tell you all the downsides of where I am, if you want. There's so many bugs here. Then you can't even spend that much time outside sometimes because you go out there, watching the moon rise over the water because I couldn't sleep. It's so beautiful. It's dark. I'm out there. I am covered with mosquito bites wherever I didn't have cover on. And the ants in the house. Oh, it's really something. But we like our geckos. But the bugs, I'm a little tired. Tropics, right?
Is this okay?
Josie's doing a great job. Kathy's been in New York City eating and walking around. It's such a different experience from me. So different.
Apologies.
So many people. I have no people. kind of fun to think about.
Wait, Kathy, is it vacation for you as well in New York? Or yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a vacation. For me, for my husband, who's doing stuff. But
Okay.
so it's great.
Nice, though.
Yeah.
You didn't mention any shows. Have you seen any shows?
I don't think so. Dan, he doesn't want to go to shows. That's like going to work.
And no music at night.
Yeah.
We got at night. Yeah.
We had a great time the other night. We were there was this huge. You guys have all heard of the High Line?
And what's great is not only can I flip this around, so
There was
anyone
this
can
huge, huge sculpture of a pigeon with a bird on the High Line.
Yeah, so they'll be able to see.
And we watched them take it down the other day.
I'm so sorry for the
It was in the
miscommunication.
middle of the night. It was like 1 o'clock or something.
So you'll send it to.
You're off.
So yeah, so give me 1 second.
Anyway, that's exciting.
And very specifically, we are not going to join the audio, or if we are automatically added to it, we are going to disconnect from audio.
They took the sculpture down.
Yeah, it had been there for about 18 months. And it was a huge rigging crew, with a giant 70-foot.
How big is this pigeon?
Well, they had to put it on a huge flatbed truck. I don't know. It's gigantic.
Oh wow!
It was enormous. So watching them put all this special padding around it, the crane and the blankets.
So join with my computer.
Big trucks.
Yeah, so we'll have you join with your computer.
It's obviously a crew that knew what they were doing.
Okay.
I heard my bird. I came to the window to see if she's here.
I don't see her. Is she there?
I thought she was making sound, but no. It's good.
Are you going to be doing music or any kind of video? Okay, then you don't need to worry about how you want to join with the audio.
Let's see here.
I'm not singing back to her, so I'm singing to me.
So,
or he.
we'll have you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you know it's a she?
Yeah, no, I've seen 2 of them. I think it's a he because he and I like singing to each other.
And then you'll just share your presentation.
Mostly that's what I teach boys. I used to teach piano, but I'm teaching boys.
Oh, I have. So I just sent it to you. So you should be able to get. I don't know that I can there.
What kind of presentation do you have? It's a Google slide. A Google slide? Okay, you should be able to. Is it open on your computer? It is.
Oh, here.
Okay.
So it's right here.
Great.
Hello, Rachelle. I don't believe I know you.
Looks like you're doing that within a browser. So what you'll do is when you go back to that. I'm sorry, I got that. Don't worry.
Okay. Oh, but I can't do this yet. Okay, so.
Yeah. So you'll go back to the Zoom. And then it should be on like the one that you had. And worst case, I can also show it on my computer.
And then share?
Yeah. So yep, we're just seeing that. So you're going to click over there to your presentation. Beautiful. Yep, and then you're just going to enter into presenter mode. Amazing. Wonderful.
Can I hide this?
Yes, if you just press that little Y, of course. Yep, no, I mean, this is all on the fly. We're all amazing. Okay, great. Okay, so now everyone can see it. I'll make an announcement really quick.
Okay.
Hi, friends. So we do not have a big screen projector. So if you want to see your own personal projector, if you join the Zoom meeting on your personal device, you'll be able to see her slideshow. I will also turn this around if you want to just try to look there as well. I mean, I know it's a little tinier. So pick your decision. Please just make sure that you keep muted in the Zoom meeting so that we don't have any audio feedback for the people that are on the Zoom. So, and let me know if you need help accessing it tech-wise. Okay, yeah, you're waiting to get into the room. I will let you in.
I'm glad you addressed this.
I'm just so sorry for the miscommunication. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have a really nice, like, it's not the collegiate setup that we're all used to.
I mean,
So how do I?
to interact with it, you're gonna have to see. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess.
Oh, I can just
Pretty
turn it down
much.
myself.
It's just like to interact to begin with. It would be and we'll use that and then see if we can't.
Okay, I think I'm gonna.
My name, should I just?
Yeah, well, I really just don't know the browser interface.
I think so.
I could just do, maybe I could just.
All I had to do is stand near him and now.
Sure, yeah.
Wild times we live in. Brian just makes things work by himself.
About in there.
Yes, you did myself.
Okay, I'll just put in my name again.
Yourselves. So you're waiting to be let in. Once we're
These are all the jelly cat stickers.
Yeah.
My son decorated my computer for me.
Okay.
Have a good key option.
This meeting is. No, that's
turned on your sound.
I can turn this in myself. Sorry.
You could
Everyone's
probably
getting a
also
tech
do
lesson
that.
today, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I did.
I allowed you in the meeting, so that's.
Is everybody set?
I think so.
I know.
Okay. I think I'm ready.
So you'll want to hit OK so that stuff gets out of the way. And then you can probably drag that down. That'll bar you.
Okay, great, thank you.
No. You should, I don't know. MCNW password?
Oh, 206?
I'm good. Thank you, Ryan.
Bye.
8443.
You don't absolutely need the slide presentation, and you'll have it on here on the computer. I think it's
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a quick
It's fun though, to know how to do it on the phone.
Connectivity is better if you stand behind row. And then once you connect it, it should work. Oh, really? Yeah, I couldn't get it.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. Thank you so much for your patience. And also, after the meeting, for those who are interested / available, we're gonna go to pizza, Tuta Bella, like we normally do. So anybody who's available, please join. Ryan, would you like to introduce?
Hello. Here it is. Everybody, but we're going to make this work. Rachelle here is coming out to visit us. Normally practicing psychiatrist. Psychologist, his private practice. He said this is great to say to us. It's also a performance psychologist at the double master's in music and psychology.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Please do not have great expectations for the slideshow. It took a long time to get on there, but I appreciate flexibility for this communication. Yeah, so as I said, as Ryan was saying, I am a music teacher like all of you, pianist. Are you all piano teachers or are there other instruments in the mix here?
Mostly piano, some other.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. This presentation applies to all. And yeah, a mental health therapist and a performance psychology practitioner. Okay. It's not letting me. Oh, yes, okay. So my background, I've spent 4 decades teaching and performing, and I have always been curious about what makes a good performance. How do people perform their best? I know that as a music learner or student myself, I didn't always, couldn't rely on my performances. I be a very diligent practicer, put in the hours, got my repetitions in, but when I got to the stage, it didn't necessarily transfer. Okay, so I chalked it up to anxiety, because I was an anxious performer. I don't know, what comes first, poor preparation or anxiety, or that maybe fuels the anxiety. But in any case, through just general exposure, just making myself perform again. And of course that does help. Certainly didn't learn much about or anything about managing performance anxiety in grad school or undergrad. But then afterwards, I really started doing more reading and research into managing anxiety, and that's what led me to pursue that degree in mental health counseling. And that's what I specialize now. I have a private practice specializing in anxiety and trauma. And then, just because I really, am interested in the psychological side of performing, I decided to pursue a performance psychology degree in Scotland, so that I could really merge those interests for me, the psychology and the performance and music learning in general. So today we're just going to look a little bit about practicing. We're going to talk a lot about practicing and the use of repetition in practicing specifically. We're going to talk about space practicing and then something called interleave practice, which you may or may not know about. And we're going to explore some insights that we can gain from neuroscience, from sports psychology, and from cognitive psychology. So, repetition. What is actually helpful when we repeat something over and over? I mean, intuitively we know we have to get reps in to learn something. But, we all know mindless repetition isn't very productive, and the most egregious examples of these are the students that put the book up on the piano and read while they're playing their scale or their memorized piece of mom don't know. That practicing is going on. Or students who aren't able to get past, to isolate their mistakes and start from the places that they're having trouble with. They have to kind of take it back to the beginning of the piece or back to the beginning of the phrase. Okay, again, this is really problematic practicing, repetition. Some students just don't practice the hard parts because it's more fun to play the parts that they can play them. And that keeps mom and dad happy too, because they're hearing something happening up on the piano. Or the kind of repetition where you do isolate a section, but then just kind of repeat and repeat and repeat without making a plan about how you're going to go about the repetition. There's no strategy chosen, you just see what happens. And then this is probably the most common way for even more advanced music students and professionals actually too. It's just play through the piece, start from the top, go to where you have some problems, stop there, repeat, 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 get it fixed up, okay, and then you go on to the next place that you have a problem, stop, repeat, 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 then go on. Okay, it can be useful, but there's also real problems with that way of practicing. Because, for example, if you play, say, 5 repetitions, but they're bad. Bad. But then you play good. Oh, yay, okay, got it. I'm going to make sure I really know it. I really know it. 3 times, yay, I got it. No, you have not. Because you have just practiced something wrong 5 times and only reinforced the correct pathway 3 times. You are not going to be able to retrieve that reliably next time. You have less than 50% chance of retrieving that reliably, right? So this is what happens in the brain when our brain learns a new skill. We have neurons, brain cells, that are processing information and transmitting and communicating with other neurons, creating this neuronal pathway that we have to make. This involves many thousands of neurons, and we have to make a well-worn pathway. So this is where it's really important to solidify whatever solution we had made to the problem. So this is where playing correctly many times in a row, at least 5 times, actually research shows, is really important for the hard stuff. Okay, so this is where it's really important to teach students, and I know a lot of you know this already, but it's interesting when you look at a model like this, the self-regulation model of practice, which is a really good model, I think. You'll find, I would imagine, if you're human, little holes in the way you teach students how to practice. So there's the forethought phase, which is a goal setting phase. So you set your specific goals on whatever it is that you're working on. Then you have to choose a practice strategy to actually achieve those goals. There's some psychological elements to this model, which I won't go into today, but then there's the performance phase, which is the self-monitoring. You have to actually put those strategies that you chose into practice, and then monitor how it's going really closely. And then lastly, the self-reflection phase. Evaluate how it goes. Why did things not go well? Why did they? So for example, it's really important not to make assumptions about what students know and don't know as well, especially when you have transfer students. So I have been working with a student I just very recently came to my studio, and he was playing at a fairly advanced level. We were doing rock on rock really, and we were discussing how he's going to shape a phrase, and so he determined that he needed to make this particular note loud. Okay, so we have a specific goal now, and we're going to practice this, right? So get to that note, he plays it through exactly the same way as he had before. Okay, well, my mistake, you didn't choose a specific strategy there, right? How is he going to make that note louder? I assumed he would know. And actually, that assumption could be made, but I shouldn't have in this case. There was a problem. We had to actually choose a strategy, which was like lifting the arm. So we go to the performance phase of this again. We put that strategy in practice. Same thing. Nothing changes. We're monitoring how it's going. It's not working. So we're evaluating what is happening. This is where the conversation happens between teacher and student. What's going on? Comes to find out he doesn't really have a very good understanding about shifting weight in the notes before. We're creating problems, with him doing the correct arm movement to get the loud note. So in any case, that is a very simple example of kind of just following this whole process through. But there's I think a lot of times, number one, we don't set specific goals. I think that is probably the most common downfall for teachers and students. Really set specific goals, not just play from the beginning, go through and see what happens, and then kind of do your reps to see if you can fix it. So goal setting and strategy is really important. Okay, so still, it could be that it's not coming out like you practiced it before, even if you do follow a model like this pretty closely, okay? And there might be a few things that are going on here, and one of those things may have to do with the way learning and memory is consolidated. What we know from research is that in order for our learning to be consolidated, we need to take breaks. Our brain needs breaks, absolutely. So this leads to this the importance of spaced practicing versus massed practicing. Massed practicing is when you just play a section without any breaks. Okay, so spaced is when you put the spaces in between. So a lot of research has been done on this. One that's most related to music is surgical skills. So surgeons have to use this, cognitive and motor skill. So it was really clear if they practiced 3 hours without a break, or if they practiced 40 minutes, 20-minute break, 40 minutes, 20-minute break, the team that took the breaks in 2 hours outperformed what the math team did in 3 hours. Okay, so big differences here. So they also looked at how, what if we spread the trainings out? So they did 4 trainings in one day versus training one day, taking a whole week off, do another training, taking a whole week off. Same amount of time, still 5.5 hours. Again, vastly outperformed. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's a more easy level skill or a higher level skill. Because you think maybe we need large amounts of time to really work on something that's takes high proficiency.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Should we wait till the end?
Questions?
Or
it's okay.
Okay. I just was wondering if there was any information on what these teams did during their breaks.
They took complete, so for the obviously the ones that took a week in between, they're doing all the stuff they did, right? But they just took a complete break in the first scenario, yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what they were doing, but certainly not anything related to the skill. So proficiency level doesn't matter. You still need those big breaks. It's still more advantageous to do work in smaller amounts of time in certain breaks. Also, these skills got generalized to a real life setting more effectively as well. So, you know, you can do something in a lab, but put it out in the surgery room and see how those skills are performed. Much better with the team that took breaks. So, and it's also interesting, you know, that they had the math team at 3 75-minute blocks of training back to back in one day, compared to a 75-minute block, say, every Monday for 3 weeks. And the team that took breaks did 33% better than the math team, okay? And on a third of the skills, like it says on that, that I put down there in the PowerPoint, that the math team only improved by 11% compared to 70%, so there was big discrepancies. Okay, so what is happening during these breaks that's so important? There's a really interesting study in 2021 that was done with an fMRI machine, which is basically a brain scanner, and measuring brain activity over time. So they put people in the machine, the fMRI. They had them practice a little thing. They had some judges that were judging the performance of each practice session. Okay, so they did 10 seconds of practice, then they took a 10-second micro break, and then that kept alternating. And what they found, well, first of all, that just from what the judges were listening to, that every time they came back after the break, they performed at a greater level of proficiency than what they left off. And that was consistent. It kept climbing up and up and up, okay? They didn't start from where they left off. And when they looked at the activity later on, that was actually shown, it was shown that the brain actually took the material that they were doing and sped it up like 20 times. So it was like the super speed fast forward process that the brain was doing in those breaks, which is really, really interesting, and it just really showed that actually breaks are the most important time for improving the skill. It's really counterintuitive. Yeah.
All of our students will be thrilled.
Exactly.
Is this the same thing that is why sometimes when you take a break, or your students take a break from the piece and they come back after like they went away for a week or something, and they're like,
yeah,
what happened?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of why.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so the application to music practice here would be, you do 6 correct repetitions in a row, but take a little break, a little micro break in between, even for 10 to 15 seconds. Look out the window, take a sip of water, whatever, do a little stretch. Yeah.
With this study, did they also, though, like let's say you're still doing the 40-minute, 20-minute off thing, is there a differentiation between someone that did that for 3 hours versus like 6 hours in a day?
So this is only about the micro breaks. So we're going to go next to like longer breaks.
Cool.
Yeah, very good. So this is something called what happens when neurons communicate with each other. It's something called long-term potentiation, that where those connections are strengthened, and there's an actual structural change that happens. I won't go into that exactly, but to really make those strong, lasting connections, you need to wait before you practice that thing again, okay? So, and in fact, they found out through research that you need to wait at least an hour. So if this is learning a brand new skill, so you learn something at the beginning of the day, say, then you take a break, maybe visit it in the middle of the day, maybe just even 5 minutes. And then at the end of the day, you just go through a real quick lesson, 5 minutes even. But they found that if you revisit it 3 times in a day, in fact, that first repeat, that structural connection gets strengthened, is stronger by more than twice as much as the initial learning of it. So that second repeat is really important, as well as that third. After the third time, they found that it didn't really make much difference. Right. So that's something just interesting for learning brand new things. I don't know what to do this. Okay, so what if you don't have time for breaks? We don't have a lot of time. Students don't have a lot of time. Well, they found, in answer to your question, that you can do different things during the breaks, and it can still be counted as a break. So you can practice something very different. You can observe experts doing the same thing, or just do nothing. You know, that works as well. But so if you need to practice something, you know, if we relate this to music practice, it would be not very advantageous to practice the exposition of a sonata, and then during your break go do the recapitulation. Way too similar, right? You have to practice something completely different, like Baroque piece or technical exercise or something. Okay, so this is the other big issue, right? Why can't you play it right the first time? This is like that. I think everyone has experienced this, right? So plays well in practice, and you can get it there if you've got a few run-throughs, but that first retrieval of that thing is just not there, right? So far, we've only discussed blocked practicing. And the problem with this is that this is kind of the easy way to learn. The brain will always take the easiest path to learning. If you think about creating this well-worn highway, you go down that highway once, you back up, go down it again, the brain knows where to go, okay? So this isn't very effortful. And what and this is not what performing is about. We don't get multiple tries when we're performing, right? We actually need to practice performing in a much different way than we think about it. Practice performing, I think, generally. So we need, in order for something to actually stick and be retrieved the first time, it needs to be more effortful in the learning of it. Okay? So the brain learns better, it's more durable if it's processing, if it's having to process more initially. So if you think about like doing a math problem, okay, you learn all this, you do all the steps to add in a few numbers, you got the solution. Well, if you go back and do that again, even if you try to go through all the steps again, your brain is going to remember the solution, and it's just going to bypass those steps to a large degree, regardless, right? This is just less effortful. So this lessens the chance that this learning is going to transfer from short-term memory to long-term memory. Okay, that's the really important key here. And it creates what Björk calls the illusion of competence. We think we're doing really well because we're repeating, it sounds really great, but it doesn't really tell us how durable that learning is going to be the next day. So how do we create more cognitive effort when we learn? In sports psychology research, it's called introducing desirable difficulties. So we're organizing our practice schedules to make processing inherently more difficult. I'm just going to keep an eye on the time. You wouldn't believe how much I've had to cut this presentation. So when we do that, we get something called contextual interference. This is called contextual. We're interfering with our learning by introducing difficulties. And this creates this effect called the contextual interference effect, where in the short term, This interference leads to poorer practice performance. We don't kind of do as well initially while we're doing this. But in the long term, it leads to superior retention of the material. And it transfers much, much more reliably to performance. So how do we do this? We create it, one of the ways, or one of the main ways, to create it through random practice. And I know all of you, I'm sure, do introduce random practicing. It's called variability. And particularly, I think we're very well acquainted with introducing variability within a skill. So for example, if you're trying to get a passage faster, maybe you practice at different tempos, maybe you practice with different articulations, right? And you change things up in the way you're practicing that particular skill. But there's also some variability between skills, okay? So what does this look like? This actually creates much more difficulty than the variability within a skill. This is where we get to interleave practice. With interleave practice, we mix up different tasks in a single practice session. And we return to each of those tasks a few more times in that practice session. Okay, so that's basically the gist of it. So what this is doing is really overloading the working memory. We're having to hold so many different things in our short-term memory. It's very effortful. This has been researched since the 60s, and it's a real major focus in motor skills. So a classic example of this would be, giving elite baseball players 6 weeks of bi-weekly batting practice in either block schedule and another schedule. Blocked, you have 15 different kind of pitch styles. Interleaved, you have the same thing but in a random order, going from one to the other to the other. Same amount of pitches. The results of the interleaved far performed the blocked. You can see by 25% there. So, does this translate to music? Has research been done in music? Yes, it has. First studies were done in 2010 and 11. More recently, Christine Carter, and she's a professor in Canada. She did much better studies with clarinetists that replicated a real practice scenario. She used longer musical selections rather than just little bits of random notes. And these were judged by 3 professional musicians who were rating on not just accuracy and rhythm and pitch and all that, but also just musical expression and so the range of ages, gender. So in this interleaving study, there was a concerto excerpt and an etude excerpt. In the block schedule, the concertos practiced 12 minutes, followed by the technical by 12 minutes, 24 minutes total. Interleave did 3 minutes of each, going back and forth, back and forth. Okay, again, same amount of time. They were tested on day 1 to see how well they retained their practice at the end of the day, and then on day 2, after no practice time, they brought them back in on day 2 to see how well they did. So, on the first day, you can see, maybe if you look at the right side, it kind of averages. There wasn't a significant difference between the interleaved and the block schedule, although interestingly enough, the interleaved still did a little better. You'd think almost that the block would have done better. But then what is more interesting, I think, is what happens the next day. And that is the real loss of performance for the block schedule, okay, the second day. So especially in the technical exercises, for whatever reason, and interleave did not lose any performance. Okay, so the participants of this study were also asked, what is your experience of this? Because they both had to do both schedules as part of the study design. And all of them said something about how useful I should say most of them, said something useful about the interleave schedule in terms of goal setting, mistake identification, and focus. Okay, so for the interleave practice, I had to focus on what I was doing. In the longer blocks, it was easier for my mind to wander. Although the block practice is more representative of my practice style, I did feel that the interleave practice made me more goal-oriented, since there were only 3-minute spurts. And I felt much less comfortable in the interleave practice, but it did help me pace myself. And yeah, so the benefits then of interleave practice is that there's performance improvement. That's been well tested and researched and shown. 2, it mimics a live performance context much more closely than blocked, because you have to create this material new often. So this is really like practicing performing, right? You have to get it right the first time. By the way, in these interleaving examples, you do not get to, when you practice it for 3 minutes, something for 3 minutes, you don't get to play it and go back and play it and go back. You have to play the whole thing without stopping. Okay? So, yep.
The piece or the excerpt?
The excerpt. Whatever you're interleaving. Okay? It's a bit, and this is also apply if you're doing longer sections when you're interleaving. Okay? What is important when you make a mistake is that you're monitoring what went well and what didn't. That's a performance phase of practicing. Okay? And come back to doing more refined variable practice within skill practice on that section after. Okay? So once students become acquainted with this and start using it, start seeing results, it might actually boost some motivation to practice, and might ease some anxiety about performing if they see if they feel more confident. And it also can reduce repetitive strain. I mean, 60% of musicians suffer from repetitive strain injury at some point in their careers. So it naturally builds in this physical variety, because you're always changing up what you're doing. And it's really shifting away from this repetitive kind of physical structure that we create, that we often engage in. And also, because the brain thrives on novelty, it really keeps attention and interest. So why don't teachers use interleave practice? Well, for me, I didn't know about it before. It's just people aren't familiar with it. And blocking is done traditionally. That's what research shows, too, that's what's done. You typically instruct the way you have been taught. And if we're lucky, we have had some good teachers that build in, this variability, this random practice within the skill. But even so, lots of them don't really know what the interleave practices is. Again, it's been researched in some fields, but hasn't made the transfer over into the pedagogy world. At least in the academic pedagogy world, yes. Not so much for the music for pedagogy world. Blocking can feel more satisfying initially, right? Again, it's like this feeling that you're fluent at something. So that feels good. So, and it's just more difficult to do the interleaving. So that makes sense, why it wouldn't be desirable. And then I think we tend maybe too much to focus on what we're hearing right now, the performance. Is it good right now? Let's make sure to get the results now, instead of, okay, what learning is happening? How can we create better learning? And then, of course, this is probably a big one. There's some practical challenges about just planning out. It takes more forethought. There's less actual playing, practicing on the keyboard, and there's more mental thought that's going on. When should you use interleaving? At every stage of learning. So it's essential, like we've talked about, for performing, so that you can really perform the way you want the first time. But also at the very beginning, if we're learning brand new things. This is beginners or advanced learners. So, because lots of the research that's been done has been about people learning a rhyme or skill, okay? It works really well for solidifying memory, and this has been shown in brain scans as well. There's more activation in the areas of the brain that hold memory for those who practice in interleaved rather than blocked, okay? And the other interesting thing is you can use interleaving in teaching in different ways. So, for example, you could start with something brief at the beginning, work on it, and then at the end of the lesson, bring it back. And then also kind of just changing things up more quickly and incorporating breaks, especially for little ones. You know, taking time to just do little dance breaks or color in a page for 10 seconds or whatever. Seriously, like it's. I mean, it kind of seems funny, but it's actually probably more effective than having to drill something yet again. You know? And it's teaching, because we're teaching them how to practice really when they're coming to us in our studios. So, and I know this is the way I used to practice: drill, 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 drill. No, you know, it's almost a badge of honor, like, right? That I put in like 5 hours today, and I didn't get out of that practice room until I was in there for a good hour, you know, but it's really, you have to adjust the way you think about practicing for sure. There's also evidence that increasingly interleaved practice schedule is beneficial. So starting with mass practice, doing 30 minutes of an excerpt before moving on to the next. Of course, taking a break between. Serial practice, which is one section for 5 minutes before moving on to the next one, but you are doing it in the same order, so you're changing things up, but the brain is able to predict something, what's coming next. And then the total interleave practicing, where every 5 minutes you just change things up randomly. Okay, and that's probably the most effortful, and you could save it to last. So I'm putting this up there because I have put on my website, groundedperformer.com, examples of how you can integrate interleaving into your studio and into your own practice. So if you don't want to stay too tied to your phones or whatever, maybe before we do this, maybe, is there any questions that anybody has so far? Yeah.
Is there a minimum or maximum total time per day that's also optimal for the brain to learn? Especially for like kids, you know, where their parents are like, how long total should they practice per day? Like, you know, knowing that you're gonna, like, you know, I tell them to do the interleaving, but then it's like, is there a maximum or minimum time, or is it all just individual dependent, which is what I've kind of resolved to?
Yeah, I mean, it always depends on how, the skill level and how they are, of course, right? And there are individual attention spans. Honestly.
I just didn't know if there was a study that...
Yeah, no. But certainly, practicing more than 30 minutes is not ideal without taking some kind of break, even just for 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have anything just off the top? So let's go to ways to interleave. Okay, first one is the interval timer practice. So you can get lots of free apps for interval timers. So you can set the timer to go off repeatedly. By the way, let me tell you, the ways to interleave are taken from a book by Molly Gabriel. Do you have it? Mm-hmm. Awesome. It's a really good book. I really recommend it. Learn faster, perform better. Yeah.
What is the last name? Molly?
Gabriel. I have that on my website as well. The source of that, if you want to reference that. So, yes. Set the timer to go off every 5 minutes. Choose one spot that you want to perfect. That could be like one bar up to one page. And then start your interval timer and then practice something totally different. And every time the timer goes off, you practice that one spot. Okay? And then you return to what you were practicing. Okay? And that timer should go off like at least 3 or 4 times. Does that make sense?
So is it 5, 5, 5? Is it 5 minutes of practicing?
And you do only just a little snippet. Yeah, so you do 5 minutes, you do this little snippet, however long it takes, 5 seconds to, 20 seconds. Then you just go back and practice whatever else you were doing.
And then after the 5 minutes are up, then there's a break.
No.
Oh, sorry.
You just, every 5 minutes you do this. So you can set it to go, for 20 minutes or whatever. And just keep coming back. No, that's a good clarification. Time constrained practice. So this works really well for new music as well as for older music. You can choose 3 to 5 different sections, set an interval timer to go off every 2 to 5 minutes, and then when the timer goes off, you switch to a new section. Okay? And you can repeat, each section should be repeated at least 3 times in total. So what's important about all of this interleading practice is that the student is learning to be very focused and specific about the goals they want to achieve when they're doing this practice. Remember, this is like practice without, or play it without stopping. It's really a performance of it. And so when they come back, they've got this in their mind, okay, that didn't well, what am I going to try next? And they, so they're really be thoughtful when they're doing these, this interleaved way. So this particular time constrained method is really beneficial for those who really tend to zone out and not really concentrate on what they're doing. Performing in random order. This is really useful for testing how performance ready you are. So you can divide up your music into sections, give each section a number. You can roll a dice or write each number on a separate piece of paper, however you want to do it, and then cycle through each section randomly until your time is up, your 30-minute time or whatever it is. Again, you're keeping track of what sections go well and which ones don't go so well. This one we've talked about 3 times a day with breaks in between. Okay. Technique ideas. Write different names of keys on different slips of paper, different articulations or rhythms, and then put them in a separate kind of category, and then maybe different tempos in another category, and every day you choose one of those things to do with that one key. Serial practice. This one is a little more elaborate. I'll let you look at that one in your own time. But it's really good. I've tried it out, and it works. It's effective. One thing about when we think about making mistakes during interleaving, remember that doing something wrong one time isn't going to cement a whole new pathway. Okay. And even though we want to be as correct as we can, we don't have to be scared of mistakes either. They're information for us to learn, to see what we need to improve. And learning, it really teaches our students how to learn to focus and think ahead better as well every time you return to a spot. And the really important thing is that for performance is that our students really need to learn to cope with mistakes. Like in this way, they get practice at leaving those mistakes behind and going on to the next thing, which is really, really important. And I think a lot of students have problems with that. If there is a mistake that's being repeated over and over, though, obviously, you've got to go back and isolate that and do the within skill variability. And there's also could be something psychological going on as well if there's a mistake, so that needs to be approached differently. So that's another thought about that. Okay, so now we've got some sources going on here, but we don't need to see all that. Yeah, I just did want to leave some time for questions if there was any. Or I was curious also about how many of you have tried doing some of this interleave practice in your studios? Wow, yeah. Awesome, awesome. So how is it to do this? Do you kind of do little pieces of it, or like does it feel kind of overwhelming for those of you that have just heard about this for, you know, for the first time perhaps? Does it feel like too much to add into your studio, or yeah, what's the
It definitely requires so much more focus and thought. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna just play my thing for 30 minutes, which is really good. And I think Molly Gabriel talks about like specific practicing so much, and that's something that I always forget to do. Like to have a specific thing that I'm gonna work on instead of just playing through. Yeah, and thank you so much for this. I just wanted to say, like,
Who's up?
we have science-based evidence on this. It's amazing. Like, and then in your own research, what was the most surprising to you?
You did? Well, when were you up? You mean you got up and went back?
I mean, it's kind of.
What time did you get up?
I think like the
6:30.
breaks and how the brain really functions.
6:30. Well, I was up already. Well, I was in there. Yeah. Oh.
It helps because, you know, you can kind of give yourself permission.
That's true. Leave. Anyway, I'm kind of listening. I went out there because it's not raining yet. Picked up a couple of things. Greeted some people. Good morning. Did you get your apple?
One of the national conferences a couple of years ago, there was a sweet German fellow who came in and did a presentation on learning music with dyslexia and ADHD. And one of the
This
things
goes
he got
until
really
just
into was
8
the
o'clock.
concept of learn peaks, which is sort of what you're getting at.
8 o'clock.
Essentially, like,
So it's almost over.
well, it is shown that at the beginning and the end of a thing, you have the most learning that goes on, and in between, you kind of dip. And so I take breaks every 20 minutes, and so I have, 6 learn peaks in an hour, and you have 2. And so he went really deep on that, and in particular related it to a good strategy for students that have sort of atypical sort of neurology going on, that have things where they can't focus for long, and where block practice is not just like, it's just not an option. And that this kind of stuff is exactly like a pretty clever way of getting the learning process started with students that would otherwise not really be served by the typical fare.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. This is really right up ADHD alley in a sense. There is the context switching that can be difficult. So it really depends. But there is that novelty interest that's retained.
I'm gonna pop on Zoom to see if anybody has any questions. Sorry, give me a second. Oh. Uh-oh. Unclear sound. Okay. No questions. Just. Sorry.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to see if there were any online questions.
Yeah. So, anything,
Well, I had a parent who was a child psychologist, and he would always kind of come up with short little clips of, really wise little sayings, and I always remember when he would remind me of it, so what is obvious to you is obvious to you. Yes, and so explaining what you're talking about, really talking about it in depth like you did is, and of course what we do it over and over and over and over again every time a student walks in the door. But you have to remember that it's so important.
Yeah.
Another saying I have on my bulletin board is hard is good. If it's difficult, it's worth doing. So little short things like that, I've really found are just like
they're kind of gold, aren't they?
couple of words.
So that made me think of also the way you can introduce difficulty into practice is just making things more hard in other ways, like adjusting the piano bench so it's lopsided and you have to kind of, or you play with dim light, or you play when you're really tired, you get up, if you're an early bird, you try a late night run through practice performance. To just, and really that's simulating what happens in performance often when you're feeling really stressed or distracted and you've got brain fog. So learning to do these performances when things are not ideal is really useful. Yeah.
Yeah, in college I had a professor that was having me play for one of his classes, and he told one of the people to go and turn off the light. And like, I was just like, are you serious? So I had to play like Scriabin vers la flamme in the dark, and it was like, yeah. But that, and also I had teachers that would tell me to stand, you know, just to like work on weight drops, and so you had to actually like play squatting or things like that. So I use those a lot still. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think Molly Gibbon was talking about with her viola students having them like stand on one leg. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I did this much earlier before I learned about this, but just had like my kids like drop things and make like weird noises. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you having me here. I love talking about all this stuff. It's so interesting, and I feel like I'm learning it as well. Like it was really quite recent that I went into performance psychology and really started researching, and because that was what, 3 years ago. So yeah, this is all kind of new exciting for me too. Yeah.
And are you noticing anything in your performances since that?
I have to say that I haven't done a lot of performing since, because I've invested in my mental health counseling practice. But for my students, certainly. Yeah. And I will say that even though maybe I haven't performed recently, that coming back to things again, I have much better results. Like it's not like starting where I was the previous day. So, which is.
Can you talk through a little bit how you would approach something brand new, like new repertoire, with this kind of practice? The same way?
Yeah, you can do it exactly the same way. I mean, it would be helpful to identify the spots that really do need to practice. And then, label those and go through them like that. But you know, I just remember, like the most kind of egregious example that I can think of a teacher kind of using block practice in a most unhelpful way was when I went to see him, and he said, today we're going to go through all your technique at a super slow speed for 1 hour. I was so bored. I was so mad. And it, like knowing what I know now about how the brain works, that was such a waste of time. But anyway, yeah, we do what we think is best in the time. He had good intentions. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much again for having me.